Hi, everyone. I have my son here. I want to interview him today. This is Wesley. He's almost 11. And I want to apologize for not doing a study video this week, but we had who here this week?
Mima and a bunch of other people, and we're cleaning up the game room because we have to get acid concrete so Safi won't pee on the carpet anymore.
Oh, okay. TMI. That's our cat. So we are having to tear out the carpet in a couple of rooms, and but we also had a lot of company, and next week we're going out of town, so the study videos are kind of on hold for a little bit, but I still wanted to do something, so I'm going to do this interview with Wesley. I'll do a couple other things before we leave out of town. So the summers are just unpredictable, but he really latched on to theology in the Bible, and I was really impressed with that. Recently, just a few months ago, when I took him to the Life Kids, I don't know what you guys talked about that day, but the guy that was in charge stopped me as I was picking him up and said, "You know, does Wesley read a lot? He seems really knowledgeable about the Bible and everything." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I guess he knows more than I thought he did." And so then I started talking to Wesley about it, and he was telling me like he knows a lot, and for his age, I was just very impressed. So I asked him, "So how did you start getting interested?" Because I know he and my oldest both went to a private Christian school for elementary. For Wesley, it only went till second grade.
For Austin, it went to fifth.
Yeah.
Past fifth.
So my oldest, he went all of elementary. He's a little jaded because the church that the school was hooked up to is a little legalistic, and that kind of got into him, and he does not like that. And had I known that was going to happen, I would have stepped in and not allowed it, but it didn't affect Wesley that way. Of course, he only went till he was in second grade. But he tells me that it wasn't the Christian school that influenced him the most, that it was when we took him to church and he didn't go into the kids' church. So what was it? You went in the sanctuary with us?
Yeah, and then when Pastor Craig would be like, "Open your book to whatever," I do it too, but usually there's not a Bible in front of me, so I just look to the person next to me or something. But that got me interested, and what got me even more interested is we went to another church with Mima, and he was like, "Turn to the book of," I can't remember that either, but I was like, "You know what, I'm just gonna go to Genesis because I'm not gonna understand anything in here."
You gotta look at the camera too.
Yeah.
So you decided to open it to Genesis, and
then I just started reading from there, and then I didn't get far, but after that I didn't read much until maybe a few months to a year later when we went to our dad's house, and he had this like comic book, or if some people know what that is, what this is, it's called manga, and it's kind of like a Japanese style of drawing, and I was like, "Cool, this is really cool," and I read straight through it, the whole book of Acts, a little bit of Luke, and a bunch of verses from Ephesians, Galatians, Romans, and all of the other ones that Paul wrote for each little place that he went for the people there that didn't know or like could not get into like the Bible and stuff.
But what really impressed me is you would want to go with us into the sanctuary and listen to the sermon, and you're 11 now, so this was a couple years ago. You're like 8 or something when you started doing this. And I guess he would just be riveted to the sermon, and he was getting a lot out of it. So
also there was food, there was a bag of chips.
Yeah, you can eat chips and stuff. So anyway, there's a piece of hair stuck here. So you have a favorite book of the Bible.
Yeah, that is Acts, not Luke as much, even though Luke wrote a lot of their journeys with Paul and Timothy, and then another person that went off with one of Paul's other people that he used to sermon with. I've started with a B, but I don't know.
Barnabas?
Barnabas, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Barnabas's son or nephew is Matthew or Mark. Or
Okay.
something. I remember that.
So you started reading Acts.
Yeah, and then that and that's why I like Acts, because it has more of like all the characters and everything that like Paul went through. And
So tell us who Paul is. Tell
so
us about Paul.
Paul was Saul, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and he used to persecute Jews, which was God's people, but he thought that was going to help God. Like, he thought that those people weren't doing the stuff right, I think, or something like that. I can't remember the whole thing,
but he was persecuting Christians.
yeah,
Jews.
and then God gave him a vision, and it blinded him when they were going to persecute more people. And then he was in his room for like weeks without opening it, or like 1 week or a few days or something. And
like he was killing Christians.
Yeah.
He was killing people.
and the priests that were against Jesus were like going in, like trying to get him out. And then God gave a vision to another guy that gave a letter to Saul, and then that changed he changed his name to Paul, and he went out to people and was like, hey, I don't want to kill you because I know that you're good, but
we should probably
went off.
read because Paul is on a journey and he has this vision.
yeah, and he gets in a fight with Barnabas even.
God actually talks to him, and doesn't he say, why are you persecuting me or my people or something like that?
Yeah.
We should have looked that up. Do you know where it is?
I think it's somewhere. I think it's. Okay, let me go to the table of contents. But
And you mean Luke or
no, I'm looking.
Acts?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we started this video 4 times. So did I tell the story of which story did I tell? I told how the guy stopped me right after and said, hey, Wesley's really knowledgeable. I told
Yeah,
that.
there was a guy at the church, and he said, just in case we didn't say this yet, he said that I was very knowledgeable when we did the thing.
in the
yeah.
children's church.
Yeah.
So I was going to say that I did kind of what my parents did. They introduced me to the church. They introduced me to God. They didn't like drill anything into us, or, they let us decide if it's something we want to do. And so that's kind of how I've done with my kids, even though, my ex-husband really wanted them to go to this Christian school. It really, I don't know. I don't know how much I want to say about that. But I don't like legalism, and now I have to do a lot of damage control with my oldest. But, each person is different. Each person has different personalities, and things affect people in different ways. So, of course, I'm going to have to deal with that on a certain way. And then, Wesley is his own person, and this is how it's affected him. And so, I think this is exciting that he has latched onto this and has really taken it and loves it. And there's a lot of songs that you sing that, that are popular Christian songs that I'm like, the kid's 10, I just think it's really cool.
Okay, so Acts I also liked because it also shows like Peter and Barnabas. So
But Paul's your favorite,
Paul
right?
is my favorite.
So why is he your favorite? Because he was doing wrong, and then he
was
stopped.
It's like Amazing Grace, but in the form of like thousands of years ago.
Okay, so did you find the scripture?
No, but I'm looking for it.
All right, you talk a little bit, and I will look. Let me get one of my Bibles out here. We're not prepared, are we?
I think
we didn't get
so.
prepared here.
I think this is where it is. I'm not sure though.
Okay, so talk about what you like about Paul and Saul, and I will look for this.
So, Paul and Saul are the same person.
Right.
So, like, whenever I read the manga, it was very descriptive of how it probably was. Like, all of his journeys, who he picked up, how he was almost stoned, like how he was stoned, almost dead. His friends came, and he just stood up and walked away. Because reasons that I forgot.
Okay, so here we go.
I am looking at. There it is.
Did you find it?
I found Saul's conversion.
Okay, that's what we want to read. Do you want to read it, or do you want me to read it?
Oh, and they were going to Ethiopia.
Ethiopia?
Ethiopia.
Okay.
Which is Ephesians.
So, the whole chapter 9?
Yeah, it's 9.
Okay.
In this book, at least.
Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Or do you want to read it? Okay. Now Saul, still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord, went to the high priest and asked for letters from him to the synagogue at Damascus, so that if he found any belonging to the way, which that's what it was called because that was the beginning of Christianity, both men and women, he might bring them bound to Jerusalem. And it came about that as he journeyed, he was approaching Damascus, and suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him.
Yeah, that was when they were all super tired, and they were like, Paul was like, I'm going ahead of you because you're falling behind. So he was ahead, and yeah, that just happened. Everybody was rushing towards him, and he was like, what happened?
So I wish they had done a movie on this, because it would be really cool. So he's journeying. Suddenly a light from heaven, it says from heaven, flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, and these words are in red letters, so it's Jesus. Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Can you imagine?
That's what I remember. I remember that from manga.
Yeah, can you imagine? He falls to the ground. And he hears a voice, why are you persecuting me? And he said, who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. But rise and enter the city, and it shall be told you what you must do. And the men who traveled with him stood speechless, hearing the voice, but seeing no one. And Saul got up from the ground, and though his eyes were open, he could see nothing. And leading him by the hand, they brought him into Damascus. So he was blinded by that light. And he was 3 days without sight, and neither ate nor drank. Now there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. I almost said...
It was Ananias.
I almost said, was it Ananias and Sapphira? But I didn't want to... Okay. And the Lord said to him in a vision, Ananias. And he said, behold, here am I, Lord. And the Lord said to him, arise and go to the street called Straight, and inquire at the house of Judas for a man from Tarsus named Saul, for behold, he is praying.
And Saul is blind, and then Ananias brings the thing and tells Saul that the Lord had talked to him, and he's like, I'm not blind anymore.
Yeah, so he says, verse 12, and he has seen in a vision a man named Ananias come in and lay his hands on him so that he might regain his sight. So God gave Paul a vision that Ananias was going to pray for him.
Yeah.
But Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard from many about this man. How much harm did he did to thy saints at Jerusalem? So he has a reputation for being horrible to people and killing people. And here he has authority from the chief priest to bind all who call upon thy name. But the Lord said to him, go, for he is a chosen instrument of mine to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the sons of Israel. For I will show him how much he must suffer for my name's sake. And Ananias departed and entered the house, and after laying hands on him said, Brother Saul, the Lord Jesus, who appeared to you on the road by which you were coming, has sent me, so that you may regain your sight and be filled with the Holy Spirit. And immediately there fell from his eyes something like scales, and he regained his sight, and he arose and was baptized. And he took food and was strengthened. Then after that, he begins preaching.
Yeah, and then he does find Barnabas. And what I remember is that they do preach, and then they go to one place. I can't remember. I think they were somewhere around Greece, because when they started talking and performing miracles, they weren't coming from them, obviously.
Right.
But the people that were witnessing them were calling them, like, it's Zeus, it's
The satanic thing or demonic.
No, they're saying it's like Zeus, it's our gods, and then they're like, we're not gods. They ripped their shirts because they're like, we're not gods, stop it. It's, there's one. And then a while after that, Barnabas and Saul go on their different paths, and Mark is Barnabas' nephew, so... Oh, yeah. Mark went with Saul and Barnabas, and then for a few times, and Saul didn't like him because he was not really, trained. So Barnabas was like, he needs to come because he needs to learn, and then Saul's like, but I need to preach, like, a lot more, so can't have a new person, like, stopping us.
I'm pretty sure that anyone who, is walking down the street and God stops them and puts, a light around them and starts speaking audibly to them, they're going to change their ways, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be too hard to believe.
Yeah.
So what makes you believe that all this is true, the Bible?
Well, every single Bible is kind of based off of the original in its own... It's based off of the original.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's based off of that one, and then that one, and then that one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this NIV Adventure Bible is based off of a different NIV Adventure Bible. But that one's probably based off one of these kinds of Bibles.
So the NIV is the New International Version.
Yeah, and then this is like an older version.
So, okay, but people say, but men wrote the Bible down. So how, that doesn't make any sense because man wrote it down. So it can't be from God.
But, like, they're the ones that got the visions to write it down, so...
Right, because God has to use people, right? I mean, he uses people to do whatever he needs done on the earth. So, that's another thing.
Yeah, and what I didn't understand about the Bible is that God is, I mean, like in the Bible, when they're talking about humanity, they say man. They just say mankind and stuff.
But that's men and women.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, well, and I'm like, no, it's not because they're being weird. It's because it's how it was back then. There wasn't any confusion of stupid people just being stupid people.
Okay, so you have decided to give your heart to God, and when did all that start?
Well, 5 or 6 years ago, because I'm 10, so if you do the easy math in your head, it's 4 or 5 years old.
Okay. At school, or, I mean, I think Austin said the prayer at home. I don't remember if you did or not.
I think I did it at Sunday school.
Okay.
I still remember them painting my hand, and I could barely bear it because my hand was tickling so much. And everybody was screaming.
And so you have a knowing inside that what? Do you have a knowing that God is real?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Except sometimes I'm like, is he real? And then I'm like, of course he is. These are just random thoughts that are stupid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, so talk about your faith and what else you like. Okay, so Paul's your favorite. We went through that story. What else?
It's a good book.
Now you brought one of your school books.
No, we bought this one. I like this book. It's good.
The Wishing Well. Okay.
No, The Wishing Spell, The Land of Stories, Mom.
Spell. That's not Christian. We don't need to read that.
Mom, it's a fantasy book.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just fantasy.
So,
fake.
So you believe, and what else?
I like other books of the Bible.
Okay, what other book do you like?
I started reading Luke because Luke did jot down a bunch of stuff. Because the people that were with him on his journey were, there was a lady from Ephesus that followed them for a little while, but she had to go back. So did this other guy that I forgot his name. But there was Luke that was with them. Timothy was there. And Saul. The ones that were there for like almost the whole journey were Luke, Timothy, and Saul. /Paul.
One of the missionary journeys. Is that right?
Yeah. When they were, but Luke, Timothy, so when Luke was in a different city, Timothy and the other guy that I can't remember his name, were in this one city when Paul was about to get stoned, but they couldn't help him because they were preaching and they didn't find out, and they're like, oh, we'll meet you in the city. And it was a very dramatic moment in the manga because I almost cried. I actually almost cried. Yeah, I actually almost cried. I was like, ah!
Because you didn't want him to get stoned?
Yeah, he got stoned. And then he was dead, and I was like,
So he was martyred.
He was martyred. But Timothy, the other guy, Timothy and the other guy went over there, and they were like, Paul, wake up, Paul. And then they left, and then when they were about to leave, Paul just stood up and walked away. That's all he did. He was like, what are you guys freaking out about? He had just gotten stoned, and he was dead for 5 minutes, and then he was just stood up and walked away.
Oh, he didn't die?
Nope. Well, he did, but I don't know. I forgot. He either died or he almost died. I think he died temporarily. Twice? He got stoned once. I think he got stoned twice. I remember a story of... Maybe that was the story. I can't remember the story because it was a play that we did in 2nd grade.
You remind me of myself because I don't remember some things like that.
Yeah, it was Paul and Barnabas, and then Isaiah was...
Isaiah?
Paul.
That's Old Testament, babe.
No, Isaiah from my school in 2nd grade.
Oh.
Yeah, remember the play that we did, Paul and Barnabas at the city when they got stoned?
And you dressed up and everything.
Yeah, so he got stoned twice, and then Barnabas carried him out of the city, and the same thing happened. He just walked up, and he was just like, hi.
So why do you think it's important for people to know God? There's a lot of people out there that don't.
Because whenever you die, you're going to go up and you're going to stand before him and you're going to be... And I don't know what's going to happen because I've never died. But that's going to happen. That's what I know for sure. So you better...
But why do they need God in their lives?
Because if you don't, you're going to perish for eternity. It's gonna be bad.
Oh, Lord. That sounds terrible.
It is terrible, Mom.
But why would God want someone to perish?
You will stand before, and if you don't believe that he is real, he doesn't want you to perish.
He doesn't?
No.
But he's letting people perish. Ow.
You know this?
I know. I'm trying to get you to say it. So, but what? But he's letting people perish?
Karma.
No, karma's not biblical. Why do you believe? How do you know God's real?
Well, it's just a faith that you need to have. It's just like how you need to trust a doctor to heal your broken arm. That's a good analogy. How you need to trust a banana to taste good. And
So you trust God.
Yeah. It's just that kind
But what
of...
if he doesn't exist? And then you're trusting nothing.
Well, I guess that just sucks.
Gosh. Okay. We've gotten really off track here. How are we going to get back on track?
Actually, I've been waiting to do this the whole video.
Oh, okay. What do you want?
So,
You have a dictionary.
this is actually my dad's from 1985.
Oh.
Not joking, Mom.
You
Look.
probably should take it back to him then.
No, I told him about it, and he was like, "That's cool," because there are books from my grandpa that passed away. And Dad's just now reading them, and knowing that Dad would read them, my grandpa jotted down notes, like in the books,
Because
this is good.
Both of your grandpas were pastors.
And he was like,
On both
"This
sides.
is good, David. Like, read this part. This means this."
Okay, so what do you have the dictionary for? What are you doing with that?
I was looking through the dictionary because there's this one book called, I think it's called Merle's Door. I don't know where it is, but it's about a dog that this guy finds. I don't know. I barely got page 3 because there's so many complicated words in there, like pheromones, endorphins,
Okay, what's the point?
atavistic and
What's
stuff.
the point of
So
it?
we were looking through it, and I found 2 things that I want to study: the periodic table and an alphabet table. I didn't know what an alphabet table was at first, but this specific alphabet table teaches 5 different languages: Hebrew, Arabic, Greek, Russian, and Sanskrit. So I thought that was cool. And now if I ever become an archaeologist and I go find something in walls that from old times of like when Jesus was alive, and I find a scroll that's in Hebrew, Arabic, Greek, Russian, or Sanskrit, I can just pull out my trusty dictionary in my alphabet table where...
So you wanted to learn Hebrew?
Yeah,
Cheryl's learning Hebrew.
I'm actually gonna look at this. I think it might have the whole alphabet, but I don't know if it does.
And Greek too.
It has Greek. It has Arabic. I think that's most descriptive right here. It has Greek too. Yeah.
Cool.
It also has Russian, so also might wanna.
We've got this little brainiac here, and
and I
what
have
all
the
he's
periodic
into
table. I
here.
like.
Okay, what else? Because tell them what your favorite subjects are in school.
My favorite subjects are. I like. So reading, as in reading books, not like language arts reading, as like actually reading books, like we're gonna do next year. And we did this year, but they were kind of like short. Like
I thought math was your favorite.
I'm saying my top 3.
Okay.
So math is first, science is second, and then reading, as in reading books, not language arts, is third. Because reading is amazing. And well, science is science is my top favorite because it has lots of math. And that's cool because I get to learn about like a bunch of the stuff around me, and I don't want to explain everything I know because even though I want to.
Okay, so I think your friends are almost here. So that was
Awesome. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
So you're gonna continue what? Reading?
I'm going to continue reading this book. It's called The Land of Stories.
But about the Bible, you're gonna continue.
And I'm going to continue reading the Gospel, which I'm going to get into.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll have to interview you again.
Also read this.
In
Read
about
this,
6
please.
months.
It is good. Okay.
All right. Thank you. I thought you were gonna show something else in that dictionary. Was that it?
Periodic table, but that's kind
okay.
of off track, so.
All right, so you guys, we will do another video here one of these days, and you guys...
I want it to be exactly 30 minutes. 3, 2, 1. Have a good day. Bye.
Take care.